On the remote Frick Island in the when an ambitious... Why two doctors in the same... Skipping words too. So when Jess starts hearing voices, how many times am I gonna have to re-say things in this video? Then we have Indivisible. Hello readers, I'm Amy. Disregard any crunching sounds in the background because it is dinner time in the Myers kitty cat household, and I was too excited to wait to film this video. Just a couple of minutes ago, I was online looking up books for my May anti-haul, which this is, and I guess this is going to be an anti-haul because most of these books I am incredibly excited for, and I didn't know a single one of these books was coming, so I think we're in for a treat today. Start off with Andy Weir. He has another book releasing. It's called Hail Mary. I read The Martian. I did not read Artemis. I've heard really, really mixed things about Artemis. It's kind of either you love it or hate it. Whenever I read the Skin book or novella by N.K. Jemisin, it was part of like an Amazon series. I believe Andy Weir had an Amazon novella in there too. But Project Hail Mary, in a last-ditch effort to save Earth from an extinction-level event, a group of astronauts is sent on a desperate mission in a cobbled-together spacecraft. But when Ryland Grace wakes up, he has no memory of his mission or why the rest of his crew is dead. The sole survivor, he must take on an impossible task with no margin for failure. I am so intrigued to see how this turns out. I hope that it's going to be probably more Martian level than Artemis, because like I said, I feel like... Honestly, most things I hear about Artemis are really disappointing, so I'm hoping that he's brought himself up again with this one. Hour of the Witch by Chris Bojalian. I put this one in here because I recognize the author's name. I read The Midwife by Chris Bojalian, and I just wasn't that excited about the story or the writing, but this is Boston, 1662. A young Puritan woman plots her escape from an abusive marriage, yet Mary's refusal to accept the hypocrisy of the colony raises the suspicions of the community. When tainted objects are found in her garden and a boy she treats with herbs dies, Mary must act swiftly to avoid accusations of witchcraft. So that one's releasing if you're interested in Chris Bojalian. The Invisible Husband of Frick Island. This one is where I really started to get intrigued by the May releases. In the remote Frick Island in the middle of Chesapeake Bay, Piper Parrish had a perfect life until her husband died. But Piper kept carrying on, acting as if he was still alive, and the townsfolk decided to play along with the grieving widow. When an ambitious podcaster arrives in town, he feels like he has the story of a lifetime until he starts to fall in love with Piper. I want to read this one. This looks so good. Next we have I don't do a ton of nonfiction in these anti-hauls, and I think this is the only nonfiction that I have in this one. But this looked so interesting. Like, bad interesting, but in a good way. You'll understand what I say when I mean it. Or what I mean when I say it. Do you know how many retakes I have done of some of these book descriptions because apparently words just aren't working for me today. Noise by Daniel Kahneman, Olivier Sibony, and Cass R. Sunstein. Why do two doctors in the same city give different diagnoses to the same patient? Or a judge gives different sentences for the same crime in the afternoon versus the morning? I want to read that. That's one that I'm going to have to be kind of in the mood for because I know it's going to be a hard hitter, but I'm intrigued. It says by the author of Thinking Fast and Slow. I haven't read that, but I recognize the name. Rivers Solomon is coming out with another book. I had recently read The Deep. I would like to pick up An Unkindness of Ghosts eventually. This one is called Sorrowland. Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, Sounds like a cult. I'm intrigued already. Flees for the center of the woods. There, she gives birth to twins. Twins is another thing I'm interested in reading about. And plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. Which, honestly, again, sounds kind of cultish. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against a community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. This has got to be like a magical realism sort of thing, kind of like we saw in The Deep. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Vern has to face the past and, more troublingly, the future outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering the secrets of the compound she fled, but also the violent history in America that produced it. So Rivers has shown that they're really great at taking Black history and, like, adding a little bit of magical stuff in there, brewing this wonderful pot of like this historical fiction magic thing. I am intrigued. I want to read this. Then we have Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho. I've also, a lot of the screenshots that I take don't include release dates, so I've kind of given up already on giving you guys release dates, but regardless, these are all coming out in May. This one, Jessamine Teo is closeted, broke, and moving back to Malaysia, a country she left when she was a toddler. When Jess starts hearing voices, she chalks it up to stress. But there's only one voice in her head, and it claims to be the ghost of her estranged grandmother, Amma. In life, Amma was a spirit medium, the avatar of a mysterious deity called the Blackwater Sister. Now she's determined to settle a score against a gang boss who has offended the god, and she's decided Jess is going to help her do it. Interesting. This next one I'm not super interested in, but I wanted to toss something else in here for the fantasy lovers. Sui Davies' Okungboa, really impressed with myself considering how words are going today, is coming out with Son of the Storm. In the thriving city of Basa, Danso is a clever but disillusioned scholar who longs for a life beyond the rigid family and political obligations expected of the city's elite. A way out presents itself when Lilang, a skin-changing warrior, shows up wounded in his barn. She comes from the Nameless Islands, which, according to Basa lore, don't exist, and neither should the mythical magic of Ivor she wields. Ivor sounds really familiar. It makes me think of ivory, but I don't think that's what it is. I'll have to look it up later and remind myself what Ivor is supposed to be. Now swept into a conspiracy far beyond his understanding, Danso and Lilang will set out on a journey that reveals histories violently suppressed and magic only found in lore. So if that sounds interesting, I'm assuming this is going to be part of a series, which is another reason that I wouldn't be that interested in it, but I do think I should do a video eventually on standalone fantasy books, because I'm finding my place in fantasy, and especially among standalone fantasies, because that's one of the reasons that I didn't really read much fantasy, was because they're all these like 10 to 14 book series. Indivisible by Daniel Ailman. There is a word Mateo Garcia and his younger sister Sophie have been taught to fear for as long as they can remember: deportation. Over the past few years, however, the fear that their undocumented immigrant parents could be sent back to Mexico has started to fade to the back of their minds. And why wouldn't it, when their ma and pa have been in the United States for so long, they have American-born children, and they're hard workers and good neighbors? When two ICE agents come asking for Pa, the Garcia family realizes that the lives they've built are about to come crumbling down. And when Mateo returns from school one day to find that his parents have been taken, he'll have to come to terms with the fact that his family's worst nightmare has become a reality. That sounds amazing and important. I don't know that I'm going to be able to read that. It's one of those I would have to be in the mood for something heavy. So definitely one that I'm going to wait on, but I am interested to hear what people think of that. The loud chewer, the loud litter boxer, Amadeus, has very unwillingly joined me up here, and he's going to jump away as soon as he possibly can. This one, this next book. So, Amy previously is like, cat hair. That's not Amy previously, that's Amy all the time, cat hair. Anyways, Amy previously is like, no romance. Romance is predictable. Like, I don't like reading it. It's not always particularly good writing. That was the hill that I was going to die on. And then I want to say it was Victoria, from what Victoria read, who got me started on this. She was talking about the first Brown Sisters book, Chloe Brown, and just talking and talking. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. And to say the least, I loved it. Then I read Dani Brown, which I didn't like as much, but really still I loved it. And I'm like, what is up with me? I'm reading romance right now. Apparently I'm interested. I'm finding my niche in romance. I like it when the romance book is more than just the romance. Like, I don't want it just to be, oh, you're hot, let's bone. Like, the relationship building in the Brown Sisters series is so good. And then there's talk about race and disability and differences, and it's just perfect. And then Hillary from Melted Books was talking about the X Talk, which was like a radio show podcast related romance. She made it sound really good. It's like, okay, I'll pick it up. And so I just recently finished reading the X Talk, and I loved it. So, and then, as of the time of this recording, I am just about finished with the third Brown Sisters book, Eve Brown, and I'm finding I am a sucker for hate to love. Not like, oh, you're a terrible person, I absolutely loathe you, you suck. It's like hate to love, like you annoy me because I like you, but I'm not willing to admit it kind of hate to love. And I'm just eating it up, and I'm loving it. So, I have a couple of romances on here. So this first one is Meet Cute Diary by Emery Lee. Felix Ever After, which I have not read yet, and I should, meets Becky Albertalli. I cannot remember what she's done, but I know that name. Editing me. Put a picture on the screen. Help me out here. Swoon-worthy, heartfelt rom-com about how a transgender teen's first love challenges his ideas about perfect relationships. Noah Ramirez thinks he's an expert on romance. He has to be for his popular blog, The Meet Cute Diary, a collection of trans happily ever afters. There's just one problem. All the stories are fake. What started as the fantasies of a trans boy afraid to step out of the closet has grown into a beacon of hope for trans readers across the globe. When a troll exposes the blog as fiction, Noah's world unravels. The only way to save the diary is to convince everyone that the stories are true, but he doesn't have any proof. Then Drew walks into Noah's life, and the pieces fall into place. Drew is willing to fake date Noah to save the diary. But when Noah's feelings grow beyond their staged romance, he realizes that dating in real life isn't quite the same as finding love on the page. I want to read it so bad. Okay. It's official. I read romance now. I have found what I like, apparently. Then we have another tender, nuanced coming-of-age love story with a really pretty cover. This is All Kinds of Other by James C. It might be Psy, I'm guessing it's C. Two boys, one who is trans, one who is cis, who have been guarding their hearts to protect themselves until their feelings for each other give them a reason to stand up to their fears. Two boys are starting at a new school. Jules is just figuring out what it means to be gay and hasn't totally decided whether he wants to be out at his new school. His parents and friends have all kinds of opinions, because of course they do. But for his part, Jules just wants to make the basketball team and keep his head down. Jack is trying to start over after a best friend breakup. I've had those. Best friend breakups suck. He followed his actor father clear across the country to LA, but he's also totally ready to leave his past behind. Maybe this new school where no one knows him is exactly what he needs. When the two boys meet, the sparks are undeniable, but when a video surfaces linking Jack to a pair of popular trans vloggers, and the revelations about Jack's past thrust both Jack and Jules into the spotlight they've been trying to avoid, both have a choice to make between lying low where it's easier or following their hearts. Again, I want to read that one. Then we have a book that is based on the Titanic. So it's going to be like a historical fiction. I was initially thinking like, it's fine. Like, I watched the Titanic movie, but I don't read that much about it. And then I get to reading the plot summary and I'm like, okay. This is by Stacey Lee, who apparently wrote The Downstairs Girl. I don't know that I've heard of that. This is the story of Valora and Jamie Luck, twin British-Chinese acrobats traveling aboard the Titanic. And we all know what happened on the Titanic. So, Southampton, 1912. 17-year-old British-Chinese Valora Luck has quit her job and smuggled herself aboard the Titanic with two goals in mind: to reunite with her twin sister Jamie, her only family now that both their parents are dead, and to convince a part owner of the Ringling Brothers Circus to take the twins on as acrobats. That already kind of makes me a little uncomfortable because the little bit that I know about circus history and race, circus history and race, they don't go together well. Circus history doesn't really go well together with anything, let's be honest. Quick-thinking Val talks her way into opulent first-class accommodations. Wow. That's gotta be some good talking to talk herself into first-class accommodations. Finds Jamie with a group of fellow Chinese laborers in third class. But the rigidly stratified world of the luxury liner, Val's ruse can only last so long, and after 2 long years apart, it's unclear if Jamie even wants the life Val proposes. Then, one moonless night in the North Atlantic, the unthinkable happens. The supposedly unsinkable ship is dealt a fatal blow, and Val and her companions suddenly find themselves in a race to survive. I might pick that up. I might also cry when I read it. But I might pick that up. This next one gives me feelings. All sorts of feelings. Almost none of them good. This is Fix by J. Albert Mann. And you might understand my feelings on this if you have seen my scoliosis video, which I can link up above. Eve and Lydia have been best friends since kindergarten. Eve was born with severe scoliosis. Lydia was born with one hand. Their structural deviations are not what brought them together, but they are what rips them apart. Trapped and alone inside of an unworking body following surgery, and filled with obvious regret, Eve is forced into her mind, an unhappy place since her split with Lydia. Under an increasing dependence on opiates and struggling to tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined, Eve strikes up a relationship and a pact with the devil. She wishes for everything to go back to the way it was, to have Lydia in her life again. But as she starts to unravel the past, she comes to realize that her memory is far from reliable and must come to grips with what she thinks she knows. There is a big part of me that wants to read this so bad. Like, I really want to read this. I want to see what it's about. I want to see what the author does with this. But the emotional part of me is like, you are going to rip yourself to pieces if you read this story. So undecided. I might have to pick up Fix and do a reading vlog where I cry and read at the same time. The Marvelous Mirza Girls is the next book on the list to cure her post-senior year slump. This is why I'm mentioning this book. I talked to someone recently who is graduating from college soon and just really freaked out about it. I remember that feeling, like the moment you graduate from college, the weight just gets heavier. It's like, oh, what am I gonna do now? Like, I should have this dream job, and what if you don't have the dream job? It's like finding your sea legs, and it's hard. So I wanted to bring this book in here because it's talking about, like, after school, what do you do? To cure her post-senior year slump, made worse by the loss of her Aunt Sonia, Noreen is ready to follow her mom on a gap year trip to New Delhi, hoping India can lessen her grief and bring her voice back. In the world's most polluted city, Noreen soon meets kind, handsome Kabir, who introduces her to the wonders of this magical, complicated place. With Kabir's help, plus Bollywood celebrities, the 14th century reunions, karaoke parties, and Sufi saints, Noreen begins to rediscover her joyful voice. But when a family scandal erupts, Noreen and Kabir must face complicated questions in their own relationship. What does it mean to truly stand by someone? And what are the boundaries of love? 2 more books. There are just so many May books that I find so interesting. This one is Pumpkin, which I don't know. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. I saw this cover and I'm thinking, that looks like Dumplin'. Not that I've ever read Dumplin', but that's what it looked like. And I just read the really small font at the top of the book in this picture. And it's like, yes, by the author of Dumplin'. So if you liked Dumplin', you might like Pumpkin. Waylon Russell Brewer is a fat, openly gay boy stuck in small West Texas town of Clover City. Not clown, town. His plan is to bide his time until he can graduate, move to Austin with his twin sister Clementine. There's a lot of twin books coming out. And finally go full Waylon so he can live his Julie, the hills are alive with the sound of music, Andrew's truth. So when Clementine deviates from their master plan, right after Waylon gets dumped, he throws caution to the wind and creates an audition tape for his favorite TV drag show, Fiercest of Them All. What he doesn't count on is the tape accidentally getting shared with the entire school. As a result, Waylon is nominated for prom queen as a joke. Clem's girlfriend, Hannah Perez, also receives a joke nomination for prom king. I might pick this up. I don't remember what the thoughts were on Dumplin'. I think it was pretty well received. But I might have to pick up Pumpkin, because that sounds really good. Last book, again, we're going with the romance that I want to pick this up. Hani and Issu's... I sound like I'm saying issues. Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. Hopefully I did not completely 100% butcher that. Everyone likes Hani Khan. She's easygoing and one of the most popular girls at school. But when she comes out to her friends as bisexual, they invalidate her identity, saying she can't be bi if she's only dated guys. Panicked, Hani blurts out that she's in a relationship with a girl her friends absolutely hate, Ishita Day. Ishita is the complete opposite of Hani. She's an academic overachiever who hopes that becoming head girl will set her on the right track for college. But Ishita agrees to help Hani if Hani will help her become more popular so she stands a chance of being elected head girl. Despite their mutually beneficial pact, they start developing real feelings for each other. But relationships are complicated, and some people will do anything to stop the 2 Bengali girls from achieving happily ever after. I've read a couple of fake dating books now. I'm not sure it's my favorite romance trope, but not hating it so far. But those are some May releases that you all have to look forward to. I'm actually at that point where I have so many books on hold on the Libby app that I'm getting kind of sick of them and just want to read a book that I actually own on my shelf, which is totally new feeling to deal with, but I have all these projects and stuff that I need my Libby app for, and I have all these books that I've been looking forward to that are on my Libby app, but I'm also I'm reading so much that I'm actually kind of getting tired now. It's not going to slow down anytime soon, considering how great May's books look. But that is it from me. Let me know what May releases you are excited for. Please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.